Rurouni Kenshin, Meiji Swordsman Romantic Story, also known as Rurouni Kenshin and Samurai X, is a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Nobuhiro Watsuki. The story begins during the 11th year of the Meiji period in Japan and follows a former assassin from the Bakumatsu, known as Hitokiri Battosai. After his work against the bakufu, Hitokiri Battosai disappears to become Himura Kenshin, a wandering samurai who protects the people of Japan with a vow of never to take another life. Watsuki wrote this series upon his desire of making a shōnen manga different from the other ones that were published at the time, with Kenshin being a former assassin and the story taking a more serious tone as it continued. The manga revolves around themes of atonement, peace, and romance. The manga initially appeared in Shueisha's Weekly Shōnen Jump from April 25, 1994 to November 4, 1999. The complete work consists of 28 tankobon volumes, while years later it was reprinted into 22 kanzenban volumes. Studio Gallop, Studio Dean and SPE Visual Works adapted the manga into an anime series which aired in Japan from January 10, 1996 to September 8, 1998. Besides an animated feature film, 2 series of original video animations were also produced, the first adapted stories from the manga that were not featured in the anime, while the second was a sequel to the manga. Several art and guidebooks for Rurouni Kenshin have been published, and writer Kaoru Shizuka has authored 3 official light novels which were published by Shueisha. Many video games have also been released for the PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation Portable consoles. A successful live-action theatrical film adaptation was released in 2012 with limited international screenings. The manga, as well as the first light novel and first guidebook, has received a complete North American release by Viz Media. Rurouni Kenshin is subtitled Wandering Samurai in some English releases. The TV series was later licensed in North America and released on DVD by Media Blasters. The first 2 seasons aired on the United States Cartoon Network as part of the Toonami block, while the 3rd season was only featured on DVD. The English-language versions of the OVAs, as well as the film, were originally released as Samurai X in North America, although the original name was included on the later DVD and Blu-ray disc releases. The Rurouni Kenshin manga has over 70 million copies in circulation as of 2014, while its anime has ranked among the 100 most watched series in Japan multiple times. The series has received praise and criticism from various publications for manga, anime and other media, with both having received good response on the characters' designs and historical setting. Plot. In the early Meiji era, after participating in the Bakumatsu War as the assassin Hitokiri Battosai, Himura Kenshin wanders the countryside of Japan offering protection and aid to those in need as atonement for the murders he once committed. When arriving in Tokyo in the 11th year of Meiji, he meets a young woman named Kaoru, who is in the middle of a fight with a murderer who claims to be the Hitokiri Battosai, tarnishing the name of the swordsmanship school that she teaches. Kenshin decides to help her and defeats the fake Battosai. After discovering that Kenshin is the real infamous assassin, Kaoru offers him a place to stay at her dojo, noting that he is peace-loving and not cold-hearted, as his reputation implies. Kenshin accepts and begins to establish lifelong relationships with many people such as Sagara Sanosuke, a former Sekiho army member, Mao Yin Yahiko, an orphan from a samurai family who is also living with Kaoru as her student, and a doctor named Takane Megumi, caught in the opium trade. However, he also deals with his fair share of enemies, new and old, including the former leader of the Bakumatsu, Shinomori Aoshi, and a rival from the Bakumatsu turned police officer, Sato Hajime. After several months of living in the dojo, Kenshin discovers that his successor as assassin of the shadows, Shishio Makoto, plans to conquer Japan by destroying the Meiji government, starting with Kyoto. Feeling that his friends may be attacked by Shishio's faction, Kenshin goes to meet Shishio alone in order to defeat him. However, many of his friends, including a young Onuabansu named Bakumatsu Misao, whom he meets in his travels, decide to help him in his fight. After his first meeting with him, Kenshin realizes he needs to get stronger to defeat Shishio without becoming the cold assassin he was in the past, and returns to the man who taught him Kenjutsu, Hikoseijuro, in order to learn the school's final technique. He finally accepts his friend's help and defeats Shishio in a close fight. Shishio dies, being engulfed in flames due to the rise in his body temperature caused by his severe burns. When Kenshin and his friends return to Tokyo, he finds Yukishiro Enishi, who plans to take revenge by killing his friends. At this point it is revealed that, during the Bakumatsu, Kenshin had been married to a woman named Yukishiro Tomo. She had initially wanted to avenge the death of her fiancé, whom Kenshin had killed, but instead they both fell in love and got married. It is then discovered that Tomo was part of a group of assassins that wanted to kill Kenshin, and Tomo is betrayed by them and captured to use as bait. Kenshin rushes to rescue her, killing both his assailant and accidentally Tomo, who jumps in at the last minute to save Kenshin from a fatal attack. Wanting to take revenge for the death of his sister, Enishi kidnaps Kaoru and leaves behind a corpse doll bearing a stunning resemblance of Kaoru for Kenshin to find and momentarily grieve over. Once discovering that Kaoru is alive, Kenshin and his friends set out to rescue her. A battle between Kenshin and Enishi follows, and when Kenshin wins, he and Kaoru return home. 5 years later, Kenshin has married Kaoru and has a son named Himura Kenshin. Production. A prototype series titled Rurouni, Meiji Swordsman Romantic Story appeared as a pair of separate short stories published in 1992 and 1993. The first story, published in December 1992 in the Weekly Shōnen Jump Winter Special issue of 1993, featured an earlier version of Kenshin stopping a crime lord from taking over the Kamiya family dojo. Watsuki described the first Rurouni story, echoing the Megumi arc, as a pilot for Rurouni Kenshin. According to Watsuki, the final Rurouni Kenshin series was not composed entirely from his free will, describing the creation of historical stories as hard. Watsuki initially wanted to make his next series in a contemporary setting. An editor approached Watsuki and asked him to make a new historical story. With the historic concept, Watsuki intended to use the Bakumatsu time period from Moio-ken with a story akin to Sugata Sanshiro. Watsuki experimented with various titles, including Nishin Kenshin, Yorazuyu Kenshin, and variations of Rurouni and Kenshin, with different kanji in that order. The second Rurouni story, published in April 1993 in the Weekly Shōnen Jump 21-22 double issue of that year, featured Kenshin helping a wealthy girl named Reiko Jichizuru. Watsuki recalled experiencing difficulty when condensing everything into 31 pages for that story. He said that he put all soul into it, but sighs when looking at it from his perspective after the publication of the Rurouni Kenshin Volume 1 graphic novel in Japan. Watsuki describes that second Rurouni, Meiji Swordsman Romantic Story, as receiving mediocre reviews and about 200 letters. He referred to it as a side story. During his childhood, Watsuki used to practice kendo, which influenced him in the making from the series. Although Watsuki developed various one-shots prior to the official serialization from the series, he mentioned he based the series from Crescent Moon in the Warring States, a story which introduced Kenshin's fighting style and his teacher. While naming the characters, he based some of the names from places he used to live, such as Makamachi Misao's Makamachi and Sanjo Tsubame, who were named after places from Niigata. Being fascinated by the Shinzengumi, Watsuki designed the characters by basing the characteristics to that of the real Shinzengumi members, and also used fictional representation of them and other historical characters from the Bakumatsu period of Japan. The historical characters were considered to be a hard task by Watsuki, due to problems with the characterization from Sagara Shizo. Watsuki decided to illustrate Sato Hajime in his own style, avoiding the historical figure. He felt very good with Sato's character, having noted he fit very well in the manga. However, Watsuki mentioned that many Japanese fans of the Shinzengumi complained about the personality of Sato, as he was made sadistic. When questioned about the series' theme being Kenshin's self-redemption, Watsuki mentioned that when he was young he used to read shoujo and that it influenced his writing of Rurouni Kenshin. He added that he wanted to make a story different from other comics, as he considers the main character Kenshin is neither a good nor evil character. Since Volume 7, Watsuki mentioned the series took a more adult tone due to the various conflicts in the story, but commented it was influenced by the shoujo manga he read. Through the series' development, Watsuki was deciding if Kamio Kaoru's character was going to die prior to the end. However, he later decided to keep Kaoru alive, as he came to the conclusion he wanted a happy ending and that the manga is aimed at young readers. Watsuki said he was an infatuated type of person rather than a passionate kind of person. So therefore Rurouni Kenshin is a Meiji Swordsman story as opposed to being a Meiji love story. When the manga series started to be published in Weekly Shonen Jump, Watsuki had little hope in the development of the series. He planned to finish the story in approximately 30 chapters, ending with Kenshin's departure from Tokyo in a similar manner to the one from Volume 7. Kenshin's enemies would have been people from Kyoto who would send an assassin to kill Kenshin. When the Onobansu were introduced during the serialization, Watsuki noted that the series could be longer as he had created various main characters. In that time, there was a survey, and the series had become very popular. When the series reached 7 volumes, Watsuki's boss suggested him that it was time to make a longer story arc, which resulted in the creation of the fights between Kenshin and Shishio Makoto. The arc was only meant to be serialized for 1 year, but it ended up being 1.5 years long. This arc was also done to develop Kenshin's character, as he considered him not to have a weak point. Watsuki commented that his artistic skills were honed with this arc, as he could draw everything he wanted to. The last arc from the manga was meant to be much shorter, but it turned out to be a fairly long one, as he could not present it in a simplistic manner. This arc was originally made by Watsuki prior to the series' start, having already thought about how would Kenshin's scar had been made. Watsuki also planned to create a Hokkaido arc and a sequel, but felt it would be better to start with another manga, and so ended the series with the last arc he made. Anime production. In a manga volume prior to the release of the anime, Watsuki said that while some fans might object to the adaptation of the series into anime, Watsuki looked forward to the adaptation and felt it would work since the manga was already anime-esque. Quote, He had some worries about the series since the creation of the series was sudden and the series had a tight production schedule. In another note in the same volume, Watsuki added that he had little input in the series, as he was too busy with the publishing. In addition, his schedule did not match the schedule of the anime production staff. Watsuki said that it would be impossible to make the anime and manga exactly the same, so he would feel fine with the anime adaptation as long as it took advantage of the strengths of an anime format. After the anime began production, Watsuki said that the final product was better than imagined, and that it was created with the pride and soul of professionals. Watsuki criticized the timing, the off-the-wall, embarrassing subtitles, and the condensing of the stories. For instance, he felt the Jin-E storyline would not sufficiently fit 2 episodes. Watsuki said that he consulted a director and that he felt the anime would improve after that point. The fact that the CD book voice actors, especially Megumi Ogata and Tomokazu Seki, who portrayed Kenshin and Sanosuke in the CD books, respectively, did not get their corresponding roles in the anime disappointed Watsuki. Watsuki reported receiving some letters of protest against the voice actor change and letters requesting that Ogata portray Seta Sojiro. Watsuki said that he wanted Ogata to play Misao and that Ogata would likely find stubborn girl roles more challenging than the pretty boy roles she usually gets, though Watsuki felt Ogata would have no problem portraying a stubborn girl. Watsuki said that the new voice actor arrangement works out, and that he hoped that the CD book voice actors would find roles in the anime. Watsuki said that the reason why the CD book voice actors did not get the corresponding roles in the anime was due to the fact that many more companies were involved in the production of the anime than the production of the CD books, and therefore the industry power structure affected the series. The second season of the anime TV series had some original stories not in the manga. Watsuki said that some people disliked TV originals, but to him the concept was exciting. Watsuki said that because the first half of the original storyline that existed by the time of the production of Volume 10 in Japan was jammed into the first season, he looked forward to a more entertaining second season. Watsuki added that it was obvious that the staff of the first season put the hearts and souls into the work, but that the second series will be a much better stage for their talents.